and that's when I saw the second plane sort of heading south down the Hudson and then turning around. Yeah. And it turned north and struck the South Tower. So it was a truly horrifying sight, and this enormous explosion, this fireball and glass. So I was one of 8 finalists in 2003, and I was taken to the site. This is what it looked like back then. And I saw the slurry wall that Daniel Libeskind spoke about, and I thought it was very beautiful and evocative, and I understood why he wanted to preserve it. But I thought it could be preserved not as an open air element, but as the wall of a vast chamber. And in bringing the memorial plaza up to grade, we could create a very large space below that plaza, because the floor, so to speak, moved from here up to 60 feet up to here.
60 feet.
So I started to sketch an idea for a memorial in the Hudson River, actually shortly after the attacks in the months that followed, sort of late 2001, early 2002. And I had this idea that was rather inexplicable of these 2 voids in the Hudson River. And it was this image of the surface of the river torn open and the water flowing into these voids, and the voids remaining empty despite the water flowing into them, a sort of persistent absence. And so I sketched it. The idea, here's the World Financial Center and the North Cove Marina and the Hudson River just around the corner from us. And I was so intrigued by this idea, this image in my mind's eye, that I wanted to build it in some way. And I ended up building a small model, sort of a sculpture / desktop fountain. I actually bought a little desktop fountain and took the pump out of it and repurposed it to build this out of plexiglass. And this was before the competition, yeah. And I took it up to my rooftop and photographed it with a skyline of Manhattan reflected in it. And I imagined something like this, if you might look across the Hudson River and see the absence of the towers in the skyline somehow being mirrored by the voids in the river. And I put a lot of effort into this, and then I sort of set it aside. It was really this cathartic exercise that I had to do for myself, a form of confronting what I had seen. And a year later, the master plan for the site by Daniel Libeskind was selected, and I looked at that master plan like most New Yorkers did. I remember going to the Winter Garden and looking at the various designs, and I had friends that were very involved. They went to the forums over at the Javits Center to participate, and how should we rebuild? And I thought there was a lot of there were some very positive and strong moves in the Libeskind master plan that tried to tie the site back into the city, primarily through the extension of the street grid back through the site. Not every street that had been there before, but 2 primary ones, Greenwich and Fulton. Greenwich running north-south and Fulton running east-west. And in doing so, it subdivided the site into 4 unequal quadrants, the largest one of which, at 8 acres, about half the site, is where the towers once stood and what would become the area that would be designated for the memorial.